And it looks like we're live. So welcome everybody to the sales meeting for July 21st. We're excited to get going here. We've got a big show on tap for you. We've got Vonda, she's going to interview Daryl Daryl McCloskey from the Division of Real Estate. And so we're going to go over some of the issues that have been going on in the open house newsletter and stuff. But to get started, we're going to kick it off with Shelly and our mortgage moment. Shelly, take it away.
All right, thanks, Brandon. Happy Tuesday, everyone. I wanted to share some information about the buying, as in the spirit of our buyers purchasing power. There is our buy versus rent comparison tool that we have. This great tool will also allow you to have a widget which can be added to your website, or you can add it to your email signature. So after we go through this, if you have any questions on this, please reach out to your Prosperity Lending loan officers. But one of the great reasons that I love this tool is if you have a buyer that is asking what the benefits are between buying versus renting, this tool will allow us to go through that very quickly to show not only just the benefits between payment, but as well on tax advantage. And it'll show you the examples from that. So whether you have a buyer who's interested in a specific purchase price, interested in a specific monthly payment, or for our VA borrowers who want to know how much their housing allowance will afford them, this is also an option for them here. So I just wanted to quickly go through this. Assuming Brandon wants to rent a home at $1,800 and he only has 5% to put down, this is what this example looks like for our clients. So we would take them through their estimated cash flow to show them the differences between their rent versus their mortgage payment, then take them into the property information. Assuming property taxes, you can actually input the actual amount in here, what their HOAs and repair costs would be, the actual amounts. These are all just self-populated at the moment. And then determining what type of loan program they want to do. So whether you want to do an FHA, you want to do conventional, jumbo, all of that good stuff is on here. And then one of the things that I feel is very rare in these buy versus rent tools is to know appreciation as well as what a buyer's tax rate is.
Shelly,
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Uh-huh.
The only thing we can see on the screen is your Outlook email. I've read all of your emails now, so if you'll switch it over.
Yes, so let me start from the beginning.
Sorry about that. I should have said something sooner.
No worries.
Todd, I wasn't done reading.
Sorry. I'll fill you in later.
Okay, how about now? Do you only have me for like 5 minutes now?
This looks.
Chat.
Now this is some kind of chat.
Oh my gosh. How about now?
I don't know where it plugs in.
We're like having
all
some
your
serious.
business, Shelly. All your business.
Seriously. Okay, let me just go off my share screen and go with what I really was going to talk about today. Since you're back in up. I'll share that on the next Tuesday sales meeting. So one thing I want to share with you is construction loans. I've had a lot of inquiries about whether or not we do construction loans, and the answer is yes. We actually have an outlet now to do land loans. So if you have a buyer who is just looking to pick up your land, just to pick up land and want to get financing on that to eventually begin construction, we do have an opportunity to do land loans, but we also have an outlet to do the land and construction loan at the same time, which we are calling our one-time construction close. So if you have any questions about this, feel free to reach out to one of our Prosperity Lending loan officers regarding construction loans. In the spirit of our low rate safe marriages, if your couples today are having a hard time finding a home, they just want to build their own home, this would be a great option for them, would be to do a construction loan. So the other thing I wanted to share with you is I will be teaching a class tomorrow at 12 o'clock. Lunch will be provided, as well as amazing gifts and raffles, so please make sure that you attend. It will be on artificial intelligence lead generation called HomeBot. So make sure you show up tomorrow. I'll put the information into the agent's signature, and that is all I got. Sorry about that technical difficulties, Brandon. Back to you.
Awesome. So we've had all kinds of technical difficulties this morning. Rhonda had a little issues with her internet, but I think she's got it worked out now.
Yep, I'm actually streaming live from Janet's office, everyone.
Oh, right on.
So, because her office was the only one that had internet access. For some reason, mine doesn't. It's all right.
Well, there we
Anyway,
go.
I know. I am super excited for our meeting today, and I appreciate you guys, your guys' patience. I know you didn't even know that we were having technical difficulties, but we were, and we're fine. And by we, I mean just me. I was the only one. Now, Daryl McCloskey is one of the compliance officers over at the real estate division. Daryl, is that your actual, like, what's your title? Give me your exact title.
I'm a compliance audit investigator too.
Wow, that sounds more official than what I just said. But Daryl's name sometimes shows up on those letters that you get when you have violations from the real estate division. And I thought it would be a really cool thing to have the real estate division here with us to talk about some of the issues that have arisen, what the open house is about, primarily the open house, because I think a lot of agents just don't know. Okay, so let me just put this out there really quickly in case I confuse anybody. Open houses are still not allowed. You cannot do them. We are talking about the open house newsletter. And so if you're on the Nevada Real Estate Division's website, you're on the home page. This looks a little bit different if you're on a PC versus an Apple. I am on an Apple today, so you also have to bear with me because I'm a PC user. But if you go down here, you'll see open house, and it will always have the most recent one that's available. And you just double click on that and voila, it pops up, right? So we're gonna deep dive into this, into the open house specifically for the summer of 2020. How do you feel about that, Daryl?
Oh, I'd be able to handle that for you.
All right, I'm super excited. So let's talk about this issue. How often does the open house come out?
It comes out quarterly.
Okay, and so quarterly means you get them every quarter. So every 4 months you will see. Is it 4 months? 3 months, right?
3 to 4 months.
3 to 4 months. So this one is for May, June, July, and August. Look at us doing math already. It's been one of those whirly mornings. Now, in this particular issue, there's a lot of things that that I think has been addressed specifically because of the fact that we have had the coronavirus put us all through quarantine, and people haven't been able to actually go through, taking their classes, their CE classes and whatnot, unless they do them through Zoom. Now, most of you know that I actually teach CE classes through Zoom right now, and that counts for live instruction. And so one of the things that this issue addresses specifically is how you can, 1, renew online, 2, how you can actually take classroom live sessions, because part of your post and CE courses require what? Live instruction, right? Butts in seat. So Daryl, do you want to dive into this really quickly with me? We can just go through, and I don't necessarily want to go through like the table of contents, but this particular article, for instance.
And well, for renewing online, the division has been given a 90-day extension on education, and education only. You still have to pay for the renewal of the license on time. If not, your license more than likely go inactive, then after a certain amount of time expire if you don't renew it on time. The 90 days is for educational only extension to get the in-person training or through Zoom training completed and submitted to the division.
Fantastic. So pretty basic. I think Janet's been talking about this a lot. So nothing new for the signature agents, because you understand that if you didn't renew and actually pay for your renewal and then do your, start working on your classes, it's probably too late now because we're past that 90 days. Yeah.
We are for the April, May license renewals.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if they're extending it into the June, July. You would want to contact licensing for that information right now.
Fantastic. Thank you. So if you are looking to renew and your license is due in June or July, contact licensing in order to make sure that you can in fact renew. Now, this particular article specifically talks about classroom delivery methods, how we're temporarily allowing them through live streaming, whether it's, and I think most people are utilizing Zoom in order to do that, and how you get those completed. You still need to have the certificates. You still need to be present during the class. The way that I do it anyway for classroom instruction is that I have to be able to see you. You have to physically be in front of your camera, in front of your computer or your laptop or whatnot in order to be there and to get credit. They've got some FAQs. So that's what this open house particularly has. Now, this is something kind of cool. You guys, I haven't seen the Nevada Realtors input any information into the open house before. Is this, you think it's because of coronavirus, or is this just is it a one-off, or are you guys starting to do this more often now?
Well, right now it's for the coronavirus, but if they want to put out information through this, they can contact our educational department and provide us with the information. And I don't see a reason why it wouldn't be published through us, giving the information to the licensees.
Right. So I think the collaboration is really important when it comes to the real estate division, as well as the association, the Nevada Realtors. And a lot of people don't know that those are separate entities, believe it or not. I can't tell you, when I first started real estate, I thought you guys were all one and the same. I knew that I paid money to different ones, but I didn't realize that they were actually two separate entities that didn't really, weren't the exact same. So this is cool in that aspect. But if you as a licensee have any, I don't know, if you have an idea of what content you want to see in here, what's a good way to get that? Is that just through the education department? Do they contact you directly, Daryl?
Well, I do get contacted directly by licensees, and I'm more than happy to help out as long as everybody else in compliance or education licensing. If you get a hold of us, we'll point you in the right direction or give you the information that you're requiring. And yes, I get a lot of calls too, claiming that they're calling the association. And
Yeah.
it's one and the same.
And they're not. They're totally different. So Daryl, can I ask you real quick, what exactly, as part of your job, what exactly is it that you do? Because you have a lot of words behind your name. What do they all mean?
Well, as a compliance audit investigator, I investigate complaints against agents. I also investigate complaints against unlicensed activity. We also audit any trust accounts, any funds held by brokers, and we ensure compliance to the statutes and regulations under NRS 645 and NAC 645.
So if I was to, let's say I find somebody advertised incorrectly, right? Do I call you? Do I submit a form somewhere? How does that, I mean, I know the right answer, but I'm just asking you to give it to me.
Well, we would prefer a formal complaint, which you can get our complaint form from our website. But if you want to remain anonymous or whatever, you can mail the ad into the division or email the division at realist@red.nv.gov with the advertisement, and we will handle it from there.
So Realist, REALEST?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so let's go through this really quickly. You've got open house, in-person showing guidance. Now, remember, you are not allowed to do open houses. And so this was something that was put out by the Nevada Realtors. Every single quarter when the open house comes out, there's going to be information that's extremely important for you as a licensee to know. And this is where you find it. And you normally get it emailed to you. Is that correct?
Well, we send out an email blast from all the emails that have been registered with us. So, some agents opt out of that, and so they don't get the blast, but it's always available on our website.
And then what if I thought, since I'm a realtor that thinks you and the association are one and the same, I've opted out because I get too many emails with Tom's video on it, and I don't want to see his face anymore. So I've opted out. I'm just giving you an example. So I've opted out. How do I get back in? Do I call you?
Well, you would want to contact the education section of the division, and they will be able to opt you back into the newsletter through your email address.
Okay, so there's nothing in the back office that I could just click and it'll automatically bring me back?
As far as I know, you would have to go through, because you opted out, through the newsletter coming out to your email address. So they would have to regenerate it on the education side.
All right. So I know that, I've given you a couple of softballs on here, because really the meat and potatoes and the things that everybody loves about this open house is the disciplinary actions and the stipulations. The things that agents do, that licensees or non-licensees do to get in trouble. I mean, that's my most favorite part. It used to be on the back page. Now it's sort of like right in the middle somewhere. It is legitimately my favorite part of this open house. And the reasoning behind why it's my favorite is because it allows me an opportunity to actually, one, learn the NRS and NAC, because let's be real. I'm not reading that unless I want to fall asleep. I am looking at it through, if there's issues that have occurred, or if I'm trying to find some solution for an agent. And usually I'm looking at NRS 118, which is for landlord tenant stuff. It's very rare, or when I'm teaching a class, it's very rare that I dive into the statute, very rare that I dive into the regulation. But this is where I see how agents, one, how creative they are, and how their creativity could get them into trouble. And so this is by far one of my most favorite parts of the open house. And so I want to give you an opportunity to sort of talk about what goes into the actual open house in regards to actions that have been taken or violations that have occurred. I see it here, but this is not all of it, right? It's not like sitting in front of the commission hearings and watching them. So talk about that a little bit.
No, this is not all of them. It's just a brief outline of each commission case that was held at the last commission, or at one of the last 2 or 3 commissions. And basically it goes through and gives you the statute number that was violated, how it was violated, and the outcome of the disciplinary or settlement through the real estate commission.
Okay, so let's first talk about the commission hearings. Again, Janet talks about this a lot because it's one of her favorite things to attend as far as classes are concerned, or events. I know that Janet loves this. She also likes her wind down Wednesdays or her Friday happy hours or whatnot. But this is one of her favorite things to watch as well. And in the commission hearings, they meet how often?
We meet 4 times a year. So
4 times a year. So twice here in Nevada, right? And twice in Reno?
3 times in Las Vegas, Southern,
Okay.
and once Northern.
Got it. Nevada is Southern and Northern. Sorry, I meant Vegas. So 3 times in Las Vegas, once in Reno. Right now, you guys are doing them through Zoom, or are you still meeting?
We're doing them online.
You are doing them online. Okay, so anybody can essentially watch it. Now, one of the exciting things about it is that if you do watch or go to a commission hearing, you get CE credit. That's butts in seats CE credit, which is pretty cool. So you can get a total of how many? 6? I know I've done this before, but I can't remember.
I couldn't tell you right offhand.
I'm pretty sure it's 6. Maybe Janet knows the answer. She can put it in the newsletter. Look at that. I'm forcing you to read your newsletter. Now, the other thing that happens at the commission hearings is that every single person, so there's a list. Usually you guys have how many people that show up for violations that occur? 20, 30, 40?
For a commission, it can range from 10 to 20, 25 cases that we want to present. And I don't know if you have this number offhand because I didn't warn you ahead of time, but how many cases do you have that are pending to be heard in front of the commission approximately? Approximately right now, probably right around 200.
So you have 200 cases. Whenever the commission meets, you probably see maybe 20 to 30 cases at a time, depending on how complex they are. Because I remember there was one last time you guys met, not this in April, but the one previous that took almost 2.5 days to get through. So that was just the one case. But if you've got 200 cases that are pending and only able to see about 20, maybe 30, we're looking at a backlog of like 2.5 years, right? If you meet 4 times a year, am I doing my math right? 2 years almost.
At times, yes.
Wow. Okay, so what happens with the agents that have had violations that are waiting to be heard? Their licenses are still active, right?
Yes.
Oh, okay, that scares me a little bit. All right, but let's get back to this. So you have a violation, not you, me. Let's just say me. I have a violation of NRS 645. Somebody has filed a complaint against me. They've sent the complaint form to you at the real estate division or realist, whatever. They've sent the complaint. Walk us through that process and how my name gets published in here. And I'm not trying to jinx myself. No, trying to forward, whatever. I'm hoping never to be in this publication under this section anyway. So walk us through what it looks like, Daryl.
Well, once we receive a complaint and we review it to make sure we have jurisdiction within the complaint allegations put forth, and then it's assigned to an investigator. An investigator will send out opening letters to the agents that's listed in the complaint, requesting a response from them.
It's usually them and their brokers, right? The
Correct.
agent and the broker. Okay, because I've gotten those letters.
The broker is also sent a letter requesting the transaction file / broker file, since they're responsible for it. And
I'm going to stop you for a second because we've talked about this. If you call us and say, I need a copy of the broker file, and let's say we don't have it, what happens?
No, that's a violation. Right?
And so an automatic fine of?
I believe $1,000.
So we've been telling agents 500, so maybe that'll scare them to actually $1,000 is a lot more than 500. So maybe that'll scare them to get their files into the office. You are required by NRS and NAC to have files into the broker within 5 days?
5 days after executed.
5 days after execution. Otherwise, it's an automatic violation. If the real estate division ever asks for that file, you're SOL because you are going to get a fine. So I wanted to make sure that I cleared that up or reiterated that to our agents in case they want to wait until the file closes to submit it, because it's a violation, guys. All right, continue. Sorry.
Okay. Once we get all the responses from the agent and the broker, the investigator will review the complaint, review all the responses and documents, and issue their findings in a report to the chief, and their recommendations of either closing it out as lack of evidence, issuing an administrative fine, or sending it for hearing with the real estate commission.
Okay, how long does that process take?
That process can take anywhere from 2 to 4 months.
2 to 4 months. So agents have submitted their responses in regards to a violation that has occurred, and they're waiting anywhere from 2 to 4 months to hear back from the real estate division. Has it ever taken longer?
It has, depending on the size of the case and the documentation and everything that's involved.
Okay. And you're not the one that's actually reviewing them, right? There are other people that are in the compliance department.
We have 4.5 investigators plus the chief for the whole state of Nevada.
Okay. So you've got enough people. Have you guys ever considered maybe having like realtors or licensees join you as part of a work group to help, I don't know, take off some of this workload? Just throwing it out there right now. I figured I've got your full undivided attention.
Well, with that, we receive the information and it's all confidential. So,
oh, got it.
it has to be the investigators themselves to go through all that. Now, with the timeline of 2 to 4 months or even longer, the reason for that too is each investigator receives anywhere between 20 to 25 complaints each month to start
Oh,
the investigation on.
wow. That's a lot. That's a lot of violations, but not all of them are actual violations, right?
Correct.
So some of those could be excused for lack of, like you said, lack of, I don't know,
Evidence.
evidence. Thank you. What else?
And then, lack of evidence or, misunderstandings are also, or the agent did admit that they did wrong. You can get a letter of instruction from the division on it,
Got
as long as it doesn't involve one of the more serious violations or client money.
Okay. So what is the most violated NRS or NAC that you have seen?
Right now, the ones that garner the most attention are agents misusing client funds.
Really?
Yes.
I would have never considered. So give me an example of what that looks like. Is that me taking money from a client and depositing it into my own bank account?
Yes, that property managers
Okay.
giving money off the top.
Wait, back that up. Property managers giving money off the top. What does that mean?
Well, taking money from their clients under false pretenses, as like a repair that wasn't completed or even ordered and so forth like that.
Oh, and taking it for themselves.
Yes.
Wow.
Misuse of EMD money, not depositing EMD money within
One
the
business day,
required time.
which is one business day, right?
One business day or whatever is written in the contract.
Got it. So, okay, so those are the most violated NRS statutes that you are seeing agents violate. And are those automatic fines? Do those people go in front of the commission?
Usually if it's dealing with client money, it's an automatic commission case.
It's an automatic commission case. Okay. And that's really, when I teach my classes, one of the things that I remind agents is that I think a lot of concern with NRS and NAC, as well as what you guys are doing over at the real estate division, is to make sure that agents aren't being deceitful, dishonest. They're not making clients or consumers feel like they've been duped, right? And so if it gives you that weird, I might be, deceiving someone vibe, you're probably in violation of NRS. That's how I tell people to gauge it for the most part, right? If you don't know the code and you feel like this might be not right, call your broker ultimately. But that brings me to another point as far as when stuff like this happens, right? And you get invited to the commission hearings, and by invited means you have to show up. You don't have a choice. There's no RSVP required, because if you're not there, you're probably not going to be able to state your case in front of the commission, and you will probably be found in violation. Your broker is invited with you.
Yes.
And so if you're in violation, is your broker also in violation?
No, the broker is just required by statute to be at the hearing also.
Why is that?
The legislature put forth that statute. I couldn't tell you why, but the broker is required to be there. A case can be opened up after the hearing if the broker does not show.
So it's a law.
Yes.
Right. It's the law because the brokers are required to supervise agents. And so you are required to be at the hearing as a broker with the agent that's at your office. to present the case. So that happens, you go through, you're in front of the commission, which by the way is primarily your peers, right? We've got Devin Reese, who is the current chair. Lee Barrett's on there. Is Neil Schwartz still on there, or is he cycling off?
I believe he's cycling off.
Okay, who else?
We have Daryl Plummer.
And where's Daryl Plummer's from here? He's from Southern Nevada?
I believe he's from Northern.
Northern Nevada, okay.
Then Lee Greer.
Greer?
And
That's it, right?
I believe that's it.
Wait, there was somebody from Pahrump, wasn't there? No? Did she
Mm,
cycle off too?
yes.
Okay, so she cycled off. Okay, so the most violated NRS code that you see or statute that you see is the one in regards to money. What's the one thing that I think agents report about each other the most?
Advertising, that's usually a $500 fine.
Okay,
And the big push now on advertising is to have your license number on your advertisement.
okay. So now,
That actually went into effect per statute last July 1st.
okay, so your license has to be on everything. Now, what I remember, so NRS is the Nevada Revised Statutes, and that comes out of the state legislature, right? So the legislative session was last year. Yes, we're in special session right now, but it doesn't mean that that's going to change that segment. But so statute change saying that you have to require your license number, but it also states that that the commission will actually develop regulations on how that looks, right? And you guys had a workshop with licensees to ultimately talk about and discuss the different ways that they wanted to see NAC be changed. And there were a few things that came out of that workshop. One of them was that you will now be required, and by now, I don't know when that now means, so I'm going to air quote it, will be required to take a class in risk reduction. So you've got contracts, ethics, law and legislative, agency, and you'll also have risk reduction moving forward.
Yes, that'd be more of a question for education.
Got it. So ultimately that came out of the workshop, but NAC 645, is it 610 or 611 says that you now have to have your license number on everything. Do we know what that's going to look like, Daryl? Do we know if it has to be with zeros, without zeros, with the letter, without the letter?
Not until the regulations are produced, will we be notified of that change.
So the
Right
$1 million
now-
question, when is that?
That's a good question. I mean, I'm not on the commission, so I can't really tell you. But we're encouraging people to put the full number on their advertisement at this time.
With the preceding zeros or without the preceding zeros?
Without.
Without, okay. So
But-
like my license number is B.005838.LLC. I don't need those 2 zeros in the beginning. I just need everything else.
Right.
Got it. Including the LLC?
We would prefer that, yes.
Ah, okay. Good to know. Good to know. So if you have a letter before and after, you're going to want to make sure that. Okay. So you're seeing that agents report each other on advertising. Is there one specific type of, is it just the license number that they're filing complaints on each other about?
License number, not having their brokerage name in the advertisement. That's still a requirement. Those
Okay.
are the 2 big advertising.
Now, I teach several classes in regards to advertising laws in real estate. And one of the things that we talk about in that class is that both NRS and NAC require that the brokerage name be prominent. Now, it doesn't have to be necessarily the name written out, but even the logo. So if your logo as a team or your logo as who you are personally, that you're branding yourself, your personal branding, and your brokerage name or logo has to be side by side and in prominence for your brokerage. That's still a thing. That's not changing, right?
Correct. That stays the same.
Perfect. All right. So let's talk about some of these violations. I noticed that there's some pretty decent ones in here. There was one, and I don't know how specific you can get into this, but there's one person, as you see here, $15,000, $20,000, $450,000. Same person, 20,000. Can you talk about this one?
Well, I can tell you it dealt with violations of the trust accounts.
Were they a property manager?
Yes.
They were. Okay. So even then they were, but there are people that act as a property manager that don't have a permit. Is that allowed?
No, that's unlicensed activity.
Okay. So what would be a violation, fine, or discipline for something like that?
Well, all unlicensed activity goes in front of the real estate commission, where the fine ranges from the minimum of $5,000
Per violation, right?
per violation to whatever they made on the transactions.
What? Are you serious?
Yes.
So if there's an agent that has, let's say, 10 property management accounts and they don't have a property management permit, those 10 accounts count each as one violation, right? So, or not a total. So it'd be 10 violations.
Correct.
And then also the money that they earned from that activity?
No, either it's the $5,000 per violation or the money they made on the transaction, whichever is greater.
Got it. Now, the other thing I noticed that when I go to the commission hearings is that when there is, so first of all, you've got the commission in front of you, right? You've got all the commission members right in front of you. You've got, who else is present at that hearing?
Well, you have the division staff,
Okay.
the investigators. You also have the commission coordinators and the education department's there. Licensing is represented. And of course, our administrator is there.
Okay. And then on the chairs or on the table on the other side of the commission is usually the person who is in violation or potentially in violation. And then you've got who else on the other side? Usually
That's the Attorney General's deputy representing the division.
so some serious stuff here. I mean, you've got the AG's office present for these cases, which is kind of a big deal. Yeah.
Yes.
Like, I mean, if nothing else, that freaks me out. So you've got the AG there as well. They're presenting the case, and then the person who's actually potentially in violation is presenting their case, and then the commission rules. But on whatever that violation is, the fine, the discipline, you know, whether your license is going to get revoked or not, or if you're going to be suspended or whatnot, the commission makes those determinations based off of how well you've presented, or off one, if you've broken the law, two, if there's, you know, if there's enough evidence to warrant a fine and whatnot. And then what I noticed is that you get a fine for the actual violations, or you get your license revoked or whatnot, but you also have to pay for everybody's time in actually reviewing your case.
Yes. On all cases heard before the division, they're found in violation. The division's cost, the investigation, the Attorney General's time in it too, and is also added on to the payment that will be required.
That's, yeah. So you got to take into account for all of that. So not only did you, so yes, you may have earned some money on that commission that you you know, so well, through the violation, but then you'll have to pay it all back and then some. Todd, I know you're on here and I want to see if you have any questions, because I have you on here just in case my internet goes out. But I do want your participation. If you have any questions for Daryl, now's a good time. I know we're coming up on like 10, 11 now. So
So Daryl, thanks for doing this today. Appreciate it. What happens if an agent gets fined and then just decides they're not going to pay their fine? Does the division actually go after them for those funds, or do they just let their license kind of go away?
great question.
Well, if they're fined through the commission and it's an order, and they refuse to pay, it's turned over to the state for collections.
And they can go after bank accounts and whatnot, right, to get this
Correct.
money.
So that theory of I'll just no longer sell real estate doesn't really help when they're going to have to pay the bill.
Correct.
Good. So I get a question, not all the time, but I've got this question several times, and I know the answer I'm giving out, but maybe you can just confirm that I'm giving out the right answer. So I have buyers agents or agents in the brokerage that come in and they're representing a buyer and they're writing offers on 2 or 3 or 4 properties at a time, because competition is getting pretty stiff out there, and I think it's going to get more stiff. What's the buyer's agent and or the buyer's responsibility to disclose to the sellers that they're writing offers on more than one property at a time with the intentions of only buying one?
Well, the agent would be required to disclose that, because that would fall under dealing fairly with all parties to the transaction. And if they're not disclosing that they're writing all the offers to different properties on it, I mean, it can be a simple disclosure stating that the buyer is putting offers on other properties, and we'll decide on which one they're going to accept. But if it's not there, that would be a violation of dealing fairly with all parties.
Which is
Okay.
part of your duties owed.
Yeah, so many times I hear agents say that it's required for a seller to disclose multiple offers, but that the buyer is not required. And so just to be clear, as a buyer's agent, we're required that if we're writing more than one offer for the same buyer and they're only going to buy one property, we need to disclose in writing. I've been doing it in the additional terms of the RPA. Is that enough disclosure, or are you looking for a separate disclosure?
No, that would be plenty, as long as it's within the offer being presented or so forth. So the information is communicated to the seller themselves.
Perfect. So treat the listing side the same way you want to be treated, huh?
Correct.
The old golden rule, huh?
I got a question for you. Let's say I don't have a property management permit and I am managing my own properties. I own 5, I'm managing my own properties. For the longest time, and I don't know where it came out of, but I want to say it was at the association. There was a class I went to, and I was told that you can only manage up to 3 of your own properties. Is that true?
No, if you own the properties, you can manage as many as you want. You just cannot run them through the brokerage accounts. You have to have your own separate accounts. They can't be in the trust accounts for the brokerage, because that'd be commingling funds. But there's the division, the statute that has no limitation on the number of properties you can manage.
So no limitation. So you can do that without a property management permit, but your name has to be on title.
Correct. You have to have ownership in the property.
Perfect. Okay. So that was a question that came in the Q&A. So if anybody has any additional questions for Daryl, go ahead and put them in either the chat or the Q&A. Brandon, is there any questions in our Facebook page? Just lots of hellos. Linda, you had asked a question. How do you have a half investigator? I'm not sure what that means. Oh,
I'm a part-time investigator up north.
oh, the half investigators up north. Okay, that's what that means.
So I've got that, Vonna, I've got another question. Daryl,
Yeah.
what's the most common violation that you see for agents because they just don't understand either the law or the rules that they need to be following? Like, what's the easiest thing that people violate that if they just paid attention to, their CE classes and or the new laws and things that come out, that they wouldn't be violating and they wouldn't get a fine?
The one I see is failure to disclose. Any information that the agent becomes aware of or should have known is one of the ones I see the most out there, just failing to disclose. And basically that falls under all, the duties owed.
And
So-
now that you say that, that totally makes sense. That's not one that I would have guessed, but now that you just said that, I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what's most common.
So for instance, the seller tells the agent that the air conditioning unit or the heating's not working, and the agent doesn't disclose that. They're required to, right? Because it is important for the transaction. It's actually a pertinent fact to the closing or the property.
Correct. I mean, if the agent knew or should have known, then that's failing to disclose.
Okay. Got another question for you on social media. If I'm not identifying myself as an agent, do I need to say I'm an agent or just have my license number on there?
On advertisements, you don't have to state you're an agent. You have your brokerage name and your license number on there is what is required under statute.
So your name itself is not required. The fact that you're an agent is not required, but
Right.
but your actual license number and the brokerage information is.
Right.
Is. Okay. I had a question. Of course, I had a brain
Well,
fart.
let's
Oh, wait. No. I do have a question. Really quick. So you have, for instance, your name or your team name or whatever on your shirt. I'm not calling you out or anything, Todd. But let's just say you have your name on a shirt or a pen. Does that also require the brokerage information as well as your license number?
Well, according to statute, any advertisement would require it.
So
But-
the answer is yes.
Yes, but the division will not pursue a T-shirt or a pen. We're more looking for the media advertising, flyers, etc., like that.
Okay.
Promotional stuff is pens, coffee cups, shirts,
So Vondon, just so that I don't get a call, mine does have my team name on it, but it also has my brokerage name on it. So
Attaboy.
I'm
Where's your
fully
license
covered.
number?
I'm
Where's
good.
your Where's your license number, Todd?
Daryl, erase my name off your paper. Just take it off. You know what I mean?
Okay. And what about social media? Like, are you guys going to Twitter? Are you going to Instagram? Are you going to LinkedIn? Is it everywhere?
Anywhere where you advertise properties or your service as a realtor will require your brokerage name and license number.
Okay. So
So
everywhere.
if I've got a personal page on Facebook that I just use for fun, it doesn't necessarily need to be there unless I'm posting real estate properties on that page, then it does need to be there, even if it's personal.
Correct.
So what I'm hearing so ultimately, I think the goal is that post, whatever you have on LinkedIn, whatever social media you're using, if somebody was to share that, it has to be able to live past that original post with your brokerage information and your license number. Does that sound accurate?
Yes, we encourage agents to brand their page, so whatever posting that they post, once it's shared, it still has their brokerage information and their license number on it.
All right. I'm going back to some, because I've got a lot of questions now that are coming back in regards to property management. So I want to make sure we address those before we let you go here, Daryl. If you are a partner with someone other than your spouse on a property, can you still manage the property without a property management permit? I'm assuming that's the question.
If they have ownership in the property, yes.
So if somebody was to say you're in violation, you guys over at the real estate division would dive deep enough to find that there is in fact ownership rights for that individual.
Yes, or request the individual that has the investigation against them to provide us with the proof they have ownership.
Perfect. So if you are a co-owner of a property and you can prove ownership, then you are allowed to manage your property. I know that it was asked a couple of times, so I'll address that really quickly. The website has all these. Sonia, badges will require license number as well. Badges. Yeah, I'm assuming it would be the same.
According to statute, all advertisements that promoting properties or your service would require the brokerage name and license number.
Okay, so here's the answer we're getting, right? Is that statute says that your license number has to be on everything, that your brokerage information has to be on everything. That statute as well. I mean, quite honestly, regulation as well, right? NAC also states that. So you'd need it on both. Or through both, so you would need it on everything, but you'd be in compliance. The division isn't pursuing anyone for not having this stuff on their clothing, their promotional items, and I'm assuming badges would probably be. And I'll just say yet.
Right.
They're not pursuing anybody yet. Could that change? Maybe. So just, go ahead and get it done. I don't think it hurts. Does it hurt? I don't think it hurts. I have another question for you. This one's always been interesting to me, and I know we're almost out of time, so I want to ask this really quickly. Open house signs. It fascinates me because I've had this discussion with Jan probably 100 times, and I still can't understand why, but I also don't want to argue too much. Open house signs, you're not required to have your brokerage information or your license number on it.
Correct. If it's just a directional sign. If it says open house with the arrow pointing down the road or listing the property address, you're not required to have the brokerage name and license number on there. Now, if you put your name on there, open house, then you're going to be required to have your brokerage and your license number. If it just says open house with the arrow pointing to that open house, you won't be required.
But the moment you advertise yourself or your team name or your brand, whatever it may be, then you absolutely have to have your license number and your brokerage information.
Correct.
Okay, now what about for teams? I have a team and my team is doing an open house. And so our open house logo is on the actual open house directional signs. Whose license number, because I'm not the one that's doing the open house, everybody else is. Whose license number goes on that open house sign?
Well, according to statute, I would say it would be the name of the person that's listed as, and say T. McCloskey. It would be my license number that would have to be on that sign.
Okay, so it doesn't have to be like, let's just say Todd's on my team. It wouldn't have to be the, calm down there, Todd. It wouldn't be the Bala Group, and then it wouldn't have to have Todd's name on it. But when people show up to the property, Todd, whatever Todd's handing out, better have his license number on it, right?
If his name's on it, yes.
Perfect. All right. I think we've asked all the questions we can ask of you. Todd, you got anything else? Brandon, is there anything else in the chat? Daryl, is there any last minute things that you want to make sure you put out to the agents over at Signature, just in case they feel like, violating something today?
Well, just keep in mind that if we do send a case to commission, each violation is $10,000. Can be up to $10,000 per violation.
Wow. Okay. So don't screw things up out there. And yes, Monica, if you have the LLC and behind your license, like when you're actually listing your license number and you put the .LLC, that's not wrong. It's just not required. Correct? Okay. All right, guys. Any other questions for Daryl while we've got him? No. All right. Any last minute thoughts? Brandon, you got anything? Daryl, you got anything?
No, I just want to thank Daryl again for his time.
We definitely appreciate you doing this with us. Thanks for running through the open house, some of the violations, some of the things that we're seeing agents violating. Thanks, Shelly, for coming back on. And I think that's it. It's about 10:30. Don't forget, if you've got any questions on advertising, please make sure that you get those approved by your broker before you put them out into the public. We're going to help you stay compliant so that you're not in front of the commission, and you're not getting a letter or a love note from Daryl in regards to that violation. Have a good one.